of life during this holiday season in December. We spoke of the Christ light within, that Christ consciousness that's in each and every one of us. And Vince's meditation so beautifully set up this whole talk this morning. It's wonderful how Spirit does work. And we talked about how this light, this Christ light within each one of us comes alive. It comes alive when we recognize and connect with it. And then we spoke about sharing our light, sharing the many gifts and talents so lovingly with everyone. And a few of those gifts were the gift of appreciation, the gift of listening, the gift of just giving a hug. These are simple yet so effective, these gifts, and we all have them to share. And so that was our second Sunday. And then last week, Vince so beautifully spoke about accepting the true light that shines within us, even though we may go through some hardships, some challenges, some really strong circumstances in life. Still, there is that light, that Christ light, that Jesus light within each and every one of us, and nobody is left out of that. So no matter what the conditions, as long as we connect with that divine light, we are uplifted. We are uplifted, up-leveled, and we are in the flow of goodness. So we began the theme for the whole month, if you remember, with L-I-G-H-T, because I love acronyms. And this was living inside God's highest truth. And so that has been what we've been delving into this month. And since today is Christmas Day, I wanted to share the story of the birth of Jesus of Nazareth. So I've changed the title of today's talk to, because I do that. So it's Inside the Light of Christmas. And what I would like to do is to take just a part of the Christmas story and metaphysically interpret it for you a little bit. And first we'll start with Jesus was perhaps the greatest man that has lived, a great way shower. He was born in a stable. Perhaps there was no room at the inn. Wise men and shepherds followed a star to be with him, a star that shone brightly in the east. And as colorful as this story may be, it's still a little bit outside the real depth of feeling, the meaning of Christmas. To get inside the meaning, we must catch the spirit, the brother Angelus, the medieval mystic poet, who said, though Christ 1,000 times in Bethlehem be born, if he is not born in thee, thy soul is forlorn. Or Ernest Holmes wrote, the radiant glory of a new dawn, the Christ within who is reborn. So of course, the inside story of Christmas then, the inside light of Christmas, this is all holidays of light, is all symbolic of what's inside us, that indwelling light within us, is allowing the Christ to be born in us. And when we look at the symbology inside the Christmas story, we are truly given a roadmap. We're given a roadmap to birthing that Christ within, to living in the light. So in fact, the elements of the Christmas story can have a deep personal meaning to each one of us, beyond their literal meaning, So we're going to just look at 3 aspects of the Christmas story, just to give us a little direction. So the first one, no room at the inn. Okay? We often ask, why was Jesus born in a manger? Why wasn't there room in Bethlehem at the inn? Is it the innkeeper's fault that there was no room? Or was it just that there wasn't any space? Metaphysically, what could the inn symbolize? It could symbolize your mind and your heart. Is there room in your mind and your heart for the reflection of the Christ within you? Is there room in your mind and your heart for all that Jesus, the Christ, stood for? Is there room in your mind and your heart for God's highest truths to shine? And what are some of God's highest truths? Love. Is there room? Or are you filled with past wounds and hurts of expectations and conditions? Peace. Is there room? Or are you filled with unrest, with upset, with worry, and with doubt? Forgiveness and compassion. Is there room, or are you still filled with resentment and anger? Acceptance. Is there room, or are you filled with judgments? Miracles. Is there room, or are you too filled with the fear, with attachment to what the appearances might be? Deep understanding and learning. Is there room within you? Or is your ego so involved that nothing else can come in? Are you so attached to being right that no deepening can occur? And then wondrous possibilities, another highest truth. Wondrous possibilities. Is there room for those wondrous possibilities to come through? Or are we too tied to what can't be done rather than what can? And I could go on and on with these highest truths, but you're getting the gist, the meaning of, are we open? Are we allowing those highest truths to come through us? Are we making room? So just hold that little metaphor as we go on to the next one, the shepherds. The idea of the shepherds tending the flocks. Here they were, diligently standing watch over the flock. And the angel of the Lord came over them to tell them that a very, very special child was born. How are we like the shepherds watching over their flock? Metaphysically, what could our flock be? Our flock is our thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and attitudes. We must lovingly watch over our flock. We must keep it under control and not let them run rampant. Keep the flock safe. Keep the flock focused on God's highest truths. Especially important when things don't seem that they're going in the direction that we may want them to go into. It's easy, so easy to stay positive and God-centered when everything is just unfolding so beautifully, so well. Everything's great in life. It's easy to be positive at that point. But what about when things are not going as we would want them to go? Conditions arise in our lives. All of a sudden, fear appears. Easy to believe. It's easy to believe what we teach in religious science when things are going really well on the outside. All the conditions are just lining up and life is just so fabulous and good and it's wonderful, and it is wonderful. But what if they are not what we want them to be at that moment? So a challenge arises. Well, this is when we need to be especially mindful on what's going on the inside. How are we responding to the outside? Deepening on the inside. That light within each and every one of us. This is tending our flock, our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs. what do we need to be doing in the world? It was the shepherd's job to tend to the flock. And it is our job as spiritual beings, having this human experience then, to watch over our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, to watch over, to guide, and to love what's going on the inside. So tuck that little idea away with the other, and we'll go on to the wise men. Ernest Holmes said in a piece that he wrote, Ernest Holmes, by the way, is the founder of Religious Science, Science of Mind, this is a New Thought Spiritual Center, and that's basically what our teachings are based on. So Ernest Holmes wrote in the Science of Mind magazine, Christmas 1950, the wise men, the magi, represent the intellect which goes in search after truth. That intelligence in all of us which knows that God is not far off, that something within us which feels with a deep feeling of life itself, that the holy babe of Bethlehem ought to be born in each one of us anew. And the wise men followed their intuition, led of God, until they too came to the manger where the little child lay. What do the wise men represent for us then? Maybe the divine intelligence that is within each one of us, the divine intuition which guides us if we but open up to it. It's inside each and every one of us. And it can lead and direct us to the Christ within. God's highest truth, if we but let it. If we but let it. And we must listen to that intuitive voice, because what is that intuitive voice? It is the divine guiding us, guiding us. Connect with it. That's what the Christ within is. The word Christ means anointed, anointed one. And Jesus of Nazareth was an anointed one. And so this babe represents the Christ consciousness that is alive in each and every one of us. So we must follow if we really want to connect and live in God's highest truth. Follow that intuitive self, that divine intelligence that is alive within all of us. Following it might not be all that convenient. It might not be convenient. It may not make everyone around us happy. It may seem counterproductive or selfish. But when the true divine intelligence and intuition shines through us, just like the star from the east shone, it showed the wise men. This intuition will show us the most wise way to follow and live our lives. So these are just 3 ideas of this Christmas story. And as we deepen into them, as we deepen into just these 3 small aspects of it, we can start to begin to live inside God's highest truth for us, because it's good. Because it's good. And I've been quoting all month, and we have a text, a Science of Mind text, and I have been quoting chapter 22, which is all about the Christ consciousness. And I'd like to read this Christmas reading by Ernest Holmes that ties right in with this. And he writes, "And so the long-appointed day arrived. A voice from out the stillness spoke, 'This is my beloved Son. Let the earth be still in his presence. Let the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, and all living creatures be still. Let the hosts of heaven sing praises, and let deep cry unto deep.' Then spoke the child, 'I am come to bring peace. I am the child of joy, and to all who will I give life. I am formed of happiness. I am come from eternal stillness. quietness and confidence are mine. In the heart of the Father, I have lived forever. All that I am, all that I have, I give. And as I wrote the very first talk to start the month of December, I said that Jesus never thought of himself as different from others. That wasn't his teachings. He located God and the kingdom of heaven within himself. And he told everyone else that they could do the same thing, that they could locate the kingdom of heaven within themselves. These teachings and more you can do, he said. These teachings and more you can do. He was a master teacher. He came to show us the way of the light. And he lived his life exactly as he spoke it. So let me just summarize the three aspects of the Christmas story that we have spoken of this morning. No room at the inn symbolizes having our hearts and our minds open and available to express God's highest truth. The shepherds tending their flock symbolizes our need to watch over our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions, and especially keep them focused on these highest truths, especially when circumstances might look a little scary, which they can. And to be good stewards of our vehicle, our bodies, of our flow, our abundance, of our thinking, to be good stewards, to be good shepherds, watching over the flock, our thoughts. The wise men symbolizes the divine intelligence and divine intuition that is available to us and how we can find the Christ within when we listen and follow. Listen and follow. Even when outer circumstances might suggest otherwise. Always we go within. We do all of our work within ourselves, because that is where the heaven or the hell lies, within ourselves. So let us open our hearts, let us open our minds to really fully express living inside God's highest truth, the light. Let us watch carefully over our thoughts, our emotions, and our beliefs. Let us follow the inner wisdom and the intuition and focus on God's highest truths of love, of peace, of forgiveness, acceptance, and of miracles. Remember, in God, there are no miracles. It's all natural action. But in our lives, it can feel like a miracle. And I happen to like that word, miracle. So I embrace it. So to open up to the miracles of life, because life truly is a miracle when we allow it. Each and every one of us, really, truly, is a beautiful miracle. A miracle of divine creation. That's a miracle of itself. That we can even acknowledge that, we can know that. And so I'd like to end this talk this morning with a beautiful poem.